Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught! Jelani Woods! Touchdown! ISB! A 43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Galloway drives all the way to the hole, throws it up, got it! Indiana's got their first lead of this contest.
I mean, that's a goddamn winner right there.
Now, from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome aboard on this beautiful post-Memorial Day weekend. Thanks a lot for joining us. Don't forget, brought to you by our good friends at Andy Moore Honda. Don't forget to go to andymoorehonda.com to get more to your door, and Endeavor Hospitality and their wealth of family of restaurants in and around the Bloomington area. Great places like BB's Market and soon to be this Friday, Butcher's, the Chop Block, new steakhouse opening up right next door to BB's Market. We'll get more to that, but welcome aboard. Lots to get to here on this beautiful day. Mike DeCourcy joining us, Chronic Hoosier as well. Post Indianapolis 500 talk and lots more to get going. And welcome in our beautiful fans from the beautiful city of Fort Wayne on the Fan 1380. So happy to be up in the Fort Wayne market, one of the great sports cities in Indiana. Just a great place, the home of the beginnings of the NBA and so much more. And so happy to be on up there with everybody. Great sports town and a great channel where you get all of your sports information, starting off your day with Caleb and Kenny, and you end it with Brett Rump. Man, you guys have it made up there. Looking forward to being a part of the team and so happy to be there. Welcome aboard. Lots to talk about with us as well. Indiana baseball makes it into the tournament. We're going to talk to Mike DeCourcy from the Sporting News. As a matter of fact, Mike waiting there. Mike, how are you, sir? How was your Memorial Day weekend?
It was great, Jim. Really, obviously, we had unbelievable weather in the Indy area over that weekend. My grass is not happy with that. It would love a little bit of water, but for those of us who are not plants, it's been awesome.
Yeah, I hear it has been. I'm trying to. I don't remember a stretch of this long. It's been like almost a month of just turn off your AC. Yeah. It's crazy. It's which I have done, as a matter of fact. I've just had a fan blowing through, but it's just been amazing. And the Indy 500 it was a great benefactor of that. You could just feel that this thing was going to be gigantic this year, which it's always big. It's always huge, but it was just had this feeling of being gigantic with a 300,000. I think they've only had 300,000 or more just the once at the 100th running, I think. But you could just feel that was coming this week, and it happened.
Yeah, and they had obviously a great race. Unfortunately, a couple of accidents near the end, and that the decision to not end under the yellow for the fans, obviously the right decision. For the competitors, that's a tough one because to decide it in basically a single lap is a tough. That's a tough deal, especially for Ganassi Racing, etc. That's a tough thing to have to cope with because they were in great shape. If that race stays green through the last 7-8 laps, they probably win. And because they wound up with a late accident, and there was the possibility they could have finished the race under yellow. Obviously, nobody wants that if you can avoid it. They probably stretched the avoidance of that about as far as they could, and wound up in the situation that they did.
The last lap of a NASCAR race, and now it looks like an IndyCar race, is kind of like a major intersection when the light turns yellow. You're supposed to have caution and ease up, and most people go bat out of hell crazy through the intersection, and it was a NASCAR finish. And if anyone watched the Coke 600 yesterday that was supposed to run Sunday, but it ran yesterday instead. It's the same thing. It gets out of those last laps, man, and it just becomes crazy as you get out. But what a great race. Joseph Newgarden, what a great story that is. An American tennis kid from Tennessee, young Roger Penske kid, but what a great story he is. And man, you could tell he was just soaking it all in. I was down there taking pictures, but he had his wife, his baby, they're laying on the yard of bricks, literally laying down, taking pictures. It was awesome, but what a great winner.
Yeah, I mean, Joseph Newgarden's somebody that if you followed the sport tangentially, you'd think that he'd have one by now, because he's been, first of all, he's with Penske, which is obviously one of the great teams, and he's such a talented driver, and he's such a bright figure on the scene that you'd think he'd have one by now, or would have had one by now. But that was the first, and it obviously meant so much to him, and it was really great to see him get it. He and his family were so thrilled by all of that, and it's hard to feel like they got an unjust result when you have such a terrific winner in Joseph Newgarden.
Absolutely. The NBA finals are set. If you watched the game 7 last night between the Celtics and Miami, not much of a game. Miami just really put it on them. I mean, they shot them to death from 3-point. What was it that 0 for 10? I believe the loser started out 0 for 10 in the first half, 0 for 12 overall from 3, I think, and just buried them. But Miami, without any trouble at all in this game.
That was really a dismal performance by the Celtics in so many ways. Caleb Martin was making shots at such an amazing clip. And I wish I had charted the number of times that he was left wide open by a defender who was more concerned about getting back to his own man. Like, that's a high school mistake. Like, the guy who's made 6 threes in a row, it doesn't matter what your man does and who he is. Like, I don't care if your man is Jimmy Butler or LeBron James or Michael Jordan himself. Caleb Martin has made so many threes in a row, whatever the number is at any given time. You don't worry, and has the ball, and the ball is in his hands. You don't worry about your guy. I mean, that's just, like I said, that is a high school mistake. And they made it at least on 3 occasions in the second half. So the Celtics really delivered an abysmal performance offensively with turnovers. Brown was really poor. Jason Tatum was hampered by an early injury from the game, and that made a big difference on how it turned out. But I also thought that Boston did a poor job, really poor job. He was still making shots if you could get him open. I mean, he was struggling to get open, but Miami's playing a lot of zone. You should be able to move the ball well enough to get Jason Tatum open shots. He's the only guy practically that made a 3 in the second half as they were falling apart. He and Grant Williams, I should say. While Brown is out there just absolutely throwing up bricks and heat check bricks on a day when you're not hot. It was a really poor performance by the Celtics, and hard to believe that would be the performance they deliver after getting coming back from 3-0 down to tie it at 3-3 and have the opportunity to go and close it out at home. To play that poorly, I thought it was abysmal. That was a failure. I guess you give Tatum a pass because he got hurt early, but that's a failure up and down the roster and up and down the coaching staff. It was abysmal, and the Heat. Obviously, they were impaired as well. I mean, they don't have all their guys, and yet they still were able to come through in that circumstance. And Martin stepping forward. That's not the first time he stepped forward in a big game. You go back to 2018 when he brought Nevada down from 21 down, brought them back from 21 down against Cincinnati in the second round of the NCAA tournament, got Nevada to the Sweet 16. He's a really impressive young man. Hard to understand how he fell out of the league for a while, but Miami, of course, one of the best organizations in sports, let alone the NBA. They figured it out. They brought him in, and they were rewarded hugely last night.
I'll be honest. Back in the day, I didn't think that Spoelstra was that good of a coach when he was at Cleveland. I had zero respect. As I'm like, that guy can't coach. He's just the LeBron and riding on the coattails and all that. Boy, he's got to take that back. But I'll be the first to say it. The man's he has done an incredible job. He deserves nothing but respect for what he has done, man. It's crazy.
I'll confess that I doubted his pathway as much as anything. Basically working his way up from intern through the ranks with the Heat, and then offered the opportunity to coach LeBron, D Wade, Chris Bosh, that group, and it seemed as though he were he was a passenger, and I was totally wrong. And we all get a few wrong here and there, and when you do, the most important thing is to own up to them. And then it's not so obnoxious when you take credit for all the smart things you say. But
very few for me.
I was right there with you. And now I will tell you right now, I don't know when, but that guy's a Hall of Fame coach. He's a Naismith Hall of Famer, and probably the sooner the better. I mean, if Jay Wright gets in when he's 56, 57, I don't know exactly how old Spo is now. But he's not many years away from needing to be in the he's 52 now, so sometime in the next 5 years he should be inducted, because he has done a phenomenal job as an NBA head coach.
A side note, which is just a little irony, Indiana, the Hoosiers will have a former player will be getting a championship ring. Yes. There's no question here, whether it's Cody Zeller or Thomas Bryant, which is ironic because Thomas Bryant, didn't he? No, they were farther apart.
Not directly, but he was among Cody's successors without a doubt.
I was trying to think there. How close was it? I was like,
it was there, about 2 years in between, maybe. But yeah. Thomas had a great career at IU as a Hoosier, and of course Cody on that Big Ten champion in 2013, a All-League player and a fringe All-America player, and now, gosh, a decade later, he has a chance to. A lot of IU fans still hurting about that Syracuse game in 2013 that cost IU a shot at a national championship, but now 10 years later, he may get his ring.
And he was out of the league, man. Little perseverance on his part. He was out of the league and back in.
Now, Cody's a hardworking guy, always has been. And the league, since Cody left Indiana, the league has obviously cycled away from players like him or big players. They're going small used to be something in the NBA. People are like, what are you doing? And now it's a common thing. And the Heat center, Bam Adebayo, is 6'9", and in basketball 20 years ago would have been a prototypical power forward. And now he's a center because nobody plays that guy anymore. Nobody plays the rebounding power forward. The guy's got to be that position has to be a shooter, has to be a deep shooter. In order to be successful.
Hence, Trace Jackson Davis coming up. That's kind of his deal right there. The height, weight, he fits into that same deal, minus being known for shooting. Not saying that he can't do it. We haven't seen him do it. But that's something that we're a position where he could play if he could knock down some shots, I think.
Well, but if he doesn't, he could be Bam. I mean, he's not as big and physical, but he could be a version of that. He could be an undersized center because he can make plays off the bounce. He's a tremendous defender. He's obviously going to have to be strong enough to hold his ground against players like Bam, like Jokic. But I mean, what did he do in college? Remind me. How many Luka Garzas did he have to go up against? And Miles Johnsons, and Cliff Amores, and Zach Edey's, for goodness sakes. if he hasn't taken on enough size to show you that he can handle himself, I don't know what would. I mean, has there ever been a 6'9" college center who starred while going up against a series of big bodies like that? We have to go back to Wes Unseld, maybe, and Dave Collins. Wow. I mean, those guys had to show that they could do it at that size, and they did. And they became Hall of Famers. And I'm not saying Trace is a Hall of Famer, but I firmly believe that guy's a pro, and that guy, and wouldn't surprise me at all if he becomes a starter in the league. And I don't think there are 30 better prospects in this draft. I could be wrong. There are others who studied it harder than me. I'm going to confess that, but there are things that he does as a defender that are rare. His elevation, his second jump, they are rare. They are the kinds of physical tools that you just don't see on every player.
Great points. Mike DeCourcy, cannot thank you enough. Cannot wait till next week to talk to you more about everything. Have a great week. What's up next for you?
Yeah, Jim, I'm working on a story about Jimmy Butler's origin and how he came to sort of sneak into high-level basketball without anybody noticing until he was an all-star, so to speak.
Still winning the Larry Bird Trophy.
Yes.
Mike DeCourcy, the great one from the Sporting News. Thank you, sir. We've got more Indiana Sports Beat Radio coming up, and we're back with it right after this from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the... Was that a good enough welcome for Fort Wayne?
Oh, I think so. That was fine. Do we... Oh. Chronic is on today, right? Usually he hops on by now. I'm just curious if he had told you anything.
I don't recall anything different.
Well, if he doesn't show up, do you want me to have Ja'Kai Newton ready to go? Well, hold on. Let me see if I'm able to get it up quickly. Hold on. I'm going to do a quick little test of something real fast. Make sure this is... Let me see if I can upload it into StreamYard real quick. I don't know if it will because it's so big. Normally I play it off YouTube, but it's not on there yet. Yeah, of course it's too big. Here, we'll get this segment started. I'll send Chronic a message and see if he's going to be able to hop on at all. All right, here we go.
Passion for beer, food, and custom metal art. Check out their custom growlers. Metalworks Brewing Company has an updated menu, new brews, and will be offered in all Endeavor Hospitality restaurants. Come taste what Dr. Hops is brewing. Metalworks Brewing Company. Bring your passion and your thirst.
This segment is brought to you by Southern Stone Restaurant. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, here on this post-Memorial Day weekend Tuesday. Hope everyone had a great one because the weather was incredible, and I think it's going to heat up now. Mother Nature gave us just one heck of a run there with the weather over the last, seems to be 4 weeks. There is nothing at all to complain about. And it's like she was just being so kind to let everything, the Derby, the Indianapolis 500, every graduations, everything else that happens during May, it was incredible. And be looking, as I'm looking at the upcoming forecast, and this, of course, is for Central Indiana. The 90s are going to be creeping in starting on Friday. So, but that's part of life, right? But wow, what an incredible, speaking of Indianapolis 500, what an incredible month of May they had, what an incredible weekend they had, and what an incredible Indianapolis 500. The race was great. The fact that there was over 300,000 people there, I haven't seen the exact number yet. I would like to. That's a testament to how big that event is, what that event, being at that event is just different. If you've not been there, I understand not understanding, but once you go, you get the sense of how big the Indianapolis 500 is. And I don't mean just on size, which it is that, but it is such a force of nature. The enormity of the size, the importance, the whole world is looking in at Indiana. And I mean the whole world. Media from all over the world is there covering that event. Everybody from around the world is watching, whether it's in Japan or Italy, Spain. They're watching from all over the world. It was just an incredible sight, incredible to be a part of. Got to speak with Dale Earnhardt Jr. At a presser. And I meant to have John pull that question up that I asked him, and daggone it, forgot to tell him, John, you might want to search for the NBC presser.
Do you remember what you asked him? Since we don't have it pulled up.
Well, yeah, I know exactly what I asked him. I asked him about the comparisons of IndyCar and NASCAR, that back in the day, IndyCar had really taken a dip, and NASCAR had seemed to take a rise in popularity and left IndyCar behind. But now that seems to be reversing, and you get this feel that IndyCar is just surging. But I looked, my dad used to watch races, and I remember I asked him, why don't you watch those races anymore? Oh, there's no good drivers. Well, but the truth of the matter is there's no drivers that he knows, that he remembers. It's all the youth. But I get that. And NASCAR has made this unbelievable youth movement where most of the drivers are these younger guys that haven't been around long. But if you look at, say, the Indy grid, Tony Kanaan, Helio Castroneves, all these, even Joseph Newgarden. I mean, he's not a rookie, but there are Pato O'Ward. There's so many names. They're big names. I mean, there's probably half the field where you don't have that in NASCAR. And And Dale talked about that. And hopefully we're going to have him on the show. I had the opportunity to talk to Kyle Larson Sunday, the day he was supposed to run at Charlotte that night, but Charlotte got rained out and ran the following day, which was yesterday. But I talked to Kyle Larson about making the switch, and he's looking forward to the challenge. And I asked him about why is it so difficult to make that change? And he says, "Oh, I don't know. I haven't done it yet." But I think that he knows a little bit more than he's letting on, because there's no way he hasn't talked to people, specifically like Tony Stewart, Indiana's own, who has done the double. Not only has he done the double, he did it finishing 6th at Indy, jumping on a jet, getting to Charlotte, where he would finish 3rd in a Coca-Cola 600, 1,100 miles in a day. And there have been many others that have done it, but that's the best. That is the best finish by anyone to do that. But and then you have Tyrese Halliburton, who I'll have a clip from Tyrese of, I'll send to John. He drove the pace car, and that was cool watching and talking to him, but he was zero nervousness about driving that pace car at all. He was looking so forward to it, was so relaxed. He said, I asked him what his goal was. He said he got it up to 145 in practice. So that was his goal. I'm like, oh man, I can't even fathom knowing that you're in the pace car for the Indianapolis 500. And if you're up to like 145, 150 miles an hour, pretty cool. I mean, I cannot imagine that. But what a spectacle. And if you haven't been, you're truly missing. Now, getting in was not that bad. Getting out wasn't fun, I will admit, but it wasn't horrible. It's worth going. It is worth, especially for those of you that live in the area. How you not make that sojourn, I don't know. It is one of the great things that we have. I've talked about many times having not only the two greatest sporting events within our reach here, the Kentucky Derby and the Indianapolis 500, but the fact the Indianapolis 500 is the greatest sporting event. It's the greatest spectacle in sports, which I know that some people will disagree, say, hey, oh, you got the World Cup that comes out. No, this is every year, man. Every year Indianapolis happens. And it's great. I mean, it is something that should be a requirement that all Hoosiers go to. I think. Some great, the Roger Penske, he's the owner of the track, and he was the also winner of the car winner last night. Then at Charlotte, he come close to doing the double by winning the Charlotte race yesterday. That didn't come to be. As Ryan Blaney won the race last night in Charlotte. 600, you talk about that's a marathon. Chris Teneri, looking forward to talking to him on Thursday. Got to hang out with him a bit before and after his duties in Turn 4. Jake Query as well. All the things that go into the 500 are just incredible. Did anyone go Besides, I did meet Michael H. from the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Ran into him. Yep, there we go. By the Pagoda Plaza during pre-race. Appreciate meeting him. But it was a great sports weekend in general. If you didn't get out, you missed this great weekend of weather and sports combined in this Hoosier State, John. And it was incredible. Now, we also have baseball, and Indiana's the baseball state.
That's what I wanted to. That's what I was hopping on here to interject with once you were ready to transition, because there's an interesting little story going on with Indiana baseball as they get ready to head to Lexington.
Indiana is the number 3 seed and they head to Lexington to Kentucky to play in that. And I think the first game they play is June 2nd against Ball State.
Did you see the sleeping arrangements they'll be having down there? Little unique situation they got going on in Lexington.
I have not gotten to that.
So listen to this. This was announced.
Their sleeping
last night.
arrangements.
So check this out. No hotels within an hour of Lexington are available this coming week because of a country music festival. West Virginia, Indiana, and Ball State players and coaches are staying in University of Kentucky dorm rooms.
Nice.
And on top of that, fans who want to attend the Lexington Regional are going to have to travel likely an hour away unless you've booked ahead of time already, which I likely, especially if you're an Indiana fan, I doubt you've done that already. And you'll need to bring your gas card with you if you want to save on some gas as you head down to watch Indiana baseball this week.
Well, that was some great forethought and planning on that situation by the NCAA. I'm sure that'll get a full review. Man, that means they should have stayed in Louisville.
Yeah, I mean, I know Louisville. I don't think they're hosting, are they? But anyway, what were you going to say?
No, but you can still. There are hotels on the eastern edge of Louisville that are what 45 minutes from Lexington, an hour tops.
Yeah, hour at the most. Either way, yeah, that may be where most people are staying if they're coming.
Which I know no one wants to drive an hour in before you play a game. I understand that, but at the end of the day, I guess it doesn't matter. Although I would not want to stay in a dorm room bed. I mean, if that means dorm room beds, I mean, that could affect things. That's not exactly the most comfortable, but I know that they're kids. But hey, man, this is tournament action. You want rested. The coaches want their teams and their athletes rested. But oh well, it is what it is. Game 1, Ball State versus Kentucky on this Friday. That's at 1. Yeah, I said it was Indiana. My mistake. It's Indiana versus West Virginia this Friday in game 2 on that day. Then on the next day, the loser of game 1 plays the loser of game 2. Then the winners play the winners, yada, yada. It's a double elimination tournament. It'll be over by Monday if it's necessary, possibly Sunday. So the tournament play begins this Friday. Indiana State, Notre Dame, also in the NCAA tournament as well. So the state of Indiana has done a great job in getting teams into baseball. And I'm trying to find Notre Dame's location where they're going to be playing. Couldn't get that pulled up quick enough.
Yeah, I'm trying to get the bracket up myself. But yeah, it's great that the state of Indiana is very well represented in this year's edition of the NCAA baseball tournament. Here we go. I've got the brackets pulled up. Notre Dame. Where is Notre Dame? Here we go. Indiana State, first of all. Indiana State's in the same region as Wright State, Iowa, and UNC. Indiana State hosting that region Are we sure Notre Dame is in here? I'm not seeing them for some reason.
Well, I'm not positive, but I saw someone else make that comment. Congratulations to both Indiana State and Notre Dame making the NCAA tournament for baseball, according to Michael H.
I don't see Notre Dame in this bracket, and this is the 2023 bracket.
The
Now, I guess
entire
I could
bracket?
just be a blind human being, but I don't see the Fighting
Well, we'll
Irish.
find out that later. Either way, the Sycamores.
That's right.
After it.
The Fighting Trees.
Hey man, they get a lot of name recognition with the Sycamores during the singing of Back Home Again in Indiana by Jim Cornelius and and I will tell you, it's another thing. I wish if you could pull up the start of the Indianapolis 500, man. I cannot remember his name. He's English, but he's basically the play-by-play guy for NBC's automotive racing. And the start to the Indianapolis 500, if that did not get you just feeling in every kind of good way, I don't know what, it was incredible. How he just timed it perfectly. His words, it just, it was awesome to hear. I mean, I didn't get to hear it during it. I had to go back and I rewatched the 500, of course, to see a lot of the things. And how about the tire? Oh my goodness, the tire flying off, which is a very rare issue. They've gone to such extreme measures for safety. And that was just a freak accident where that tire, it wasn't the tether that broke. I'm going to bet you that the housing that the tether was connected to was just sheared off because it got hit by a car doing 200 miles an hour. And I don't know that they'd planned for that. But they'll go into investigating all of that and making that better. But that could have been, that could have been horrific. It was so fortunate that tire flew in between a break in the stands and hit a car because it had, well, of course we know what could have happened.
Right.
And the fact that it was that close, amazing. We've got to take a break. We've got more coming up here from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios, and we're back with it. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
All right, so we need to, and this will be regular, not just for today, but now that we have Fort Wayne, for this upcoming segment, we will need, give me 1 second, hold on. What am I forgetting here? There we go. We need to go to break by let's see. Once you see the 54-minute mark up on the live screen, I'll pop in. That's your signal to start wrapping up for the segment. And still treat it that way. So, by the way, if you're listening on YouTube, this is going to be our last segment. But what you'll need to do, Jim, since we'll have segments coming up for the radio side of things for the other markets, just say, treat it as if we do have more coming up. Just say we've got more coming up. And then we'll go to break as normal. We'll end the stream, and I'll just I'll deal with the rest from there. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Indianapolis 500. Honor is gonna be a lot of fun. How fast you gonna get it up to? Let's hope 145.
You hear me?
How long do we have?
That's I didn't practice,
So we'll come back. We'll have about 14 minutes or so.
Scary at all?
But what I'll do is I'll pop in, and go ahead and start wrapping up the segment again, like I said. But again, don't. I mean, we're gonna end the show on YouTube, but don't do the "we'll see you on the radio" thing, because we're just gonna treat it like it's commercial going into commercials. That makes sense.
Sure.
Okay. Yeah. Just treat it as if we had more coming up. That's really all you need to know. I'll deal with the rest from there.
Okay.
Oops.
You might also be able to go pull up I'm uploading Tyrese Halliburton right now.
Okay. Yeah. If I'm able to get to it, if it's ready during this next few minutes, we'll pull it. All right. Here we go.
And prepping, and can even deliver them to your doorstep once a week. That's right, it's the fastest, simplest, and easiest way to avoid decision fatigue. You pick your plan and pick up at BB's Market with no extra charge. So leave the heavy lifting to us and enjoy healthy eating with stocked meals in your fridge. Order online today at thefreshfork.com. Fresh Fork is a proud partner of WOW Network. This segment is brought to you by RE/MAX Advanced Realty, Indie Home Pros team by Cheryl Sizemore. Now back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Welcome back on this post Memorial Day weekend Tuesday. You know, the great thing about Memorial Day, it gives twice to you. It gives you a nice long 4-day weekend holiday, and then it gives you a short week on top of that. The holiday that gives twice. Monday holidays. Have to love that. And I do. I certainly do. Who doesn't, right? They don't come often enough. John Boy, we are looking forward to a fun rest of the week. Ja'Kai Newton, we had the chance to talk with him. We'll hear from him. Like I said, I'm working on getting Dale Jr. on the show, which very surprising. He had the opportunity to talk to him at one of the pressers, which was he very, very nice, as pretty much all of those guys are. I'm not gonna I wouldn't be a fan of Kyle Larson per se if I was a NASCAR fan, but he's a hell of a driver. I mean, the thing about Indy that you have to respect. I would drive. I think I'm crazy. I would drive. Like, I would love to get in a NASCAR and drive as hard as it would go. But I do not have that same desire for an Indy car. I would let a driver drive me, which normally is not the case. But yeah, that 240. It's not the 240 going straight that bothers me. It would be making. I cannot imagine that first run down the entire straightaway. You get once you've gotten up to speed, and you're coming out of the first turn where you're up to speed and down this long straightaway that's nearly a mile long, and then you hit that turn with only 9 degrees of banking. Yeah, that'll put you that'll put your heart in your throat without question. I've got a clip from Tyrese Halliburton drove the pace car yesterday. Now, I would have loved to have done that. That would have been cool. We can hear what he has to say. Maybe in a second. But like I said, he was not even nervous at all. I couldn't believe it.
Hey, Tyrese, what's it like getting to drive the pace car at the Indianapolis 500? It's an honor. It's going to be a lot of fun. How fast are you going to get it up to? Let's hope 145. That's the goal. Is 145 your goal? That's what I hit in practice, so that's the goal today. How was it in practice? Did you enjoy it? Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Had a lot of scary at all? Nah. At first, but then you get nerves out, you'll be fine. Do you have to get special permission from the team to do this? Well, they're the ones who, I think Indy Racing went to them, and then they came to me, so I think I had their blessing right away. Any chance after this you get the racing bug, like we've seen a lot of actors and things like that? I don't think so. I like to have my feet on land as much as possible, so I'll get maybe it'll give me a car bug. I'll get new cars, but not a lot of racing in my future. Chris Neri's going to call the action at a turn 4 for you. Yeah, I'm excited about that. I'm excited to hear the call. Your team is really coming together. The entire organization. The draft has been going well. You guys got 4 picks coming up. How much more are you looking forward to next year? I'm excited. We'll see what the front office does. It's their job to make those decisions, and I'm going to keep getting better and try to help us improve as much as possible. You guys were not expected to do as much what you did last year, and you played really well. And next year, probably expectations will be higher for you guys after the draft. Are you looking forward to those expectations? Yeah, I don't really care about those. For us, it's just like, how do we exceed our expectations? You know, all that matters who believes is the 15 guys in the locker room and the coaching staff. So as long as everybody has that belief in them, anything happens. What is this entire thing that you're doing today, the Indianapolis 500, this experience, over 300,000 people here. What has this experience been like for you? Oh, man, it's so fun. It's like I've never seen this many people in one place before. So definitely an honor to be here. It's a lot of fun. And I'm excited to be here for the first time. Appreciate it.
That was Tyrese Halliburton joining me on the starting grid from the Indianapolis 500 on race day. But and then after that, he was getting ready to get into the pace car and had put his helmet on, and that thing was tight. And they put the Hans device on and clipped him in. I mean, and then the funniest thing was watching him having to get into the car. And this is a Corvette. This is not an Indy car or a NASCAR. This was just a regular Corvette. Not that there's a regular Corvette, but that he had to get in. But of course, he's a little taller than your average person. What is he, like 6'6" probably? But yeah, he fit in, and I'm sure he had a blast. I didn't talk to him afterwards, but yeah, getting to do that, incredible. Can you just imagine leading the field for the Indianapolis 500 and pulling off just before they go green and roar down that front stretch? It's amazing. And the crowd loves it. I mean, the Indy crowd is they're there for it, man. They are just there for it. It's hilarious. It is just the biggest party in the world. You've got the snake pit going on. Those people don't even see a car, man. The only time they see a car is if they happen to see a TV or something. But it is a gigantic it is just an event. Someone mentioned that earlier. Sorry I didn't get to see you, Fred. I wish we could have met up as well. Michael says that Ball State, IU, Notre Dame, Indiana State, and UIndy are all in the postseason for baseball. How about that? Now, is UIndy Division I for men's baseball? Alabama cheap seats. Justin says, ha. Alabama, LSU having problems. And did you know, the gambling that went on with that, that was placed by someone from Indiana. Yeah, there's a lot to that story. And then it all goes back to Indiana, to the state of Indiana. There's a former player on the teams that from here, and yeah, not good. Glad they got that stuff under control. Sid says the Little 500 in Anderson was a great race. Well, I'm not familiar with that Little 500. I'm familiar with the Little 500 at Bloomington. You'll have to tell us more, Sid. Was it Lee Diffie? That's it. He's Australian. Lee Diffie. Yeah, I wonder, oh my gosh, if we could get that call. I read it. I rounded back and watched the start of that race a couple of times just to re-listen to his opening. It was awesome. I loved it. Let's see. Someone asked why I said I would not be a fan of Kyle Larson. Stephen, I'll be honest with you. I think that he is that punkish guy, punkish type of kid that I just think that there are certain people you meet and they're genuinely just genuine. Dale Earnhardt Jr., whom I met, was that. Tyrese Halliburton was that. Kyle Larson, I don't have that same feeling, I guess is the best way to put it. Pre-inclinations that you get, you put thoughts in your own head, and then you meet people as well. Choosing my words wisely. I just think he's not a genuine person. How about that? But that doesn't mean I'm right. Pete says Tyrese is the man. He's the modern day Reggie. He is. He was so relaxed about it, and he was taking in the moment and enjoying it. And he did exactly that. He enjoyed the heck out of it, man. No one milked that moment more than Joseph Newgarden, which why wouldn't you? But he seemed to relish in the post-race celebration as much as you can. Him and his wife and his baby lying down on the yard of bricks, like I said. He really took it in.
Break.
Roger Penske had to be happy as could be. We've got to take a break. We've got more coming up. Indiana Sports Speed Radio from the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios. Back with more right after this.
We'll be right back to the Golf Club at Eagle Point Studios for more Indiana Sports Beat Radio with Jim Coyle, presented by Endeavor Hospitality Group and Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
If you're in the
or in the YouTube stream.